Right, you're speaking generally. If you have to like caveat everything you say, like I understand some people they have to take this because bananas don't work. Right, I got it.
Yeah, because bananas don't work. I mean,
I don't know what are the bananas. That's the
well,
problem.
I mean, are you saying that the lines outside of unemployment is just a line of bananas? Just a bunch of unemployed bananas? They're like, oh man, like the produce aisle is rough this time of year.
I have no idea how we got from high blood pressure to produce unemployment. But what do bananas mean about unemployment?
I could already picture. Well, because you said they don't work because bananas don't work. I'm like, they're standing outside of unemployment. I can't believe you didn't get that.
Hello and welcome to the greatest show without a name located within the Milky Way. It is the show with no name. I have a name. My name is B, aka Brendan. He has a name. His name is Daniel, but we just call him Daniel for short. We typically, on the show with no name, don't do any kind of topics that are quote unquote timely. The major reason for that is we are... Are we 4 or 5 weeks ahead? We record an episode 4 weeks ahead?
It's usually about 4 or 5. However, this week we uploaded a bonus clip, so we're adding a week on to that if we keep uploading regularly and we keep recording regularly.
Right, because we were unable to actually get everything edited and uploaded this week, so we just added like a bonus clip, and so we'll have an extra. So yeah, we're about a month to 5 weeks ahead of time. But just recently, so this was an idea I had for a while, and I figure recently this event happened, and I figure we would talk about it anyway. I just thought it would really kind of neat, because whether this event had happened or not, I still think it would have made a really, really neat topic of discussion. So Dos Equis, the beer company,
oh my gosh,
right? For many years, they had a spokesman, the most interesting man in the world. And his name, what was his name? The guy who played him, the actor was Jonathan. Oh my gosh, I don't have the page up.
He's just the most interesting man in the world.
Yeah,
in my opinion, he never had a name.
His name is the most, that's exactly right. So
his name was the most interesting. It was Mr. the most interesting man in the world.
And then comma, his last name was World, right?
Exactly.
So that was it. And so in the radio bites, they would say, a voice would just come on and say things like, his shirts never wrinkle. He caught the Loch Ness Monster with a cane pole and threw it back. His wallet is woven out of chupacabra leather. And they would just say like 4 or 5 facts.
That last one's pretty good.
And then they would just say, he is the most interesting man in the world. And in the TV commercials, it was very similar. You know, for example, they would say something like, he played a game of Russian roulette with a fully loaded Magnum and won, but they would show something that's relevant to the fact about him that was spoken, right? And there's always some crazy fact like he has never walked into a spider web, right? And so they show him doing something like he speaks fluent.
Did you make that one up? Because that's
so I have a list.
That's a really good one.
Some of these are really, really good. I've actually made some up. Okay, so I have a list here of 100.
Oh my gosh.
That are actually in ones. He never says something tastes like chicken, not even chicken. He can speak Russian and French. And then there are
that one. I love
that one. And then there's websites out there where people add their new ones.
Yeah.
When someone, I don't even like that. I'm not going to use that one. Here's someone that
good. I didn't like that one either.
Yeah, no. I was reading some of these. I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. But he once led a horse to water and made it drink. This song, You Had a Bad Day, puzzles him. So those are the ones that people wrote about him, right? So this is I always thought this was genius marketing campaign by Dos Equis. Oh, great. Awesome. He once taught a German Shepherd how to bark in Spanish. All right. So anyway, the point of saying all of this is, Daniel, if we were to create a Wikipedia page about you and it were to have all of these little blurbs and facts, and it was about Daniel, what would they be? Now, we have to take away like all PII. Like, we're not going to put in your last name. We're not going to put in your middle name. We're not going to put in what you're like born in 1967 and blah, 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 blah. Right? So all that's out. So what like interesting facts, real or unreal, would you put up there?
Well, first things first, what makes you think I don't already have a Wikipedia page of myself? I mean, have you looked Have you looked to see if I'm on Wikipedia?
Yes, I have, because I've talked about creating a Wikipedia page for you and making all sorts of crazy stuff about it. So that way, when people
don't they like monitor it, and it's like if you don't get so many hits or something, like they'll delete it or something.
That may be, but then I just make a note. So, well, there was one that I was reading the other day, and I forget what it was. It was really important, and there was a statement in there, and someone had written something like it was factual, like. All human beings need to use their left hand, or whatever, some stupid thing. It was obviously
a fake one.
No, not obviously fake. It was, it had like a slant to it. Like it was either left leaning or right leaning, or atheist or Christian or Muslim, right? So it had some sort of backing. Somebody had a message that they wanted to put in, and so they just stuck this right in the middle of the paragraph. And thankfully, someone had written down citation needed, right? Because you notice on there they have citations like, he once told George Lucas his beard was ugly, and then there's like 4, and then it's like Gawker Magazine, 1933, blah 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 blah. So this one had citation needed. So I was like, thankfully somebody is looking through this site, because I didn't like the, hey, I'm going to insert my political or religious view, and I'm like, get your stuff out. I just came here for facts.
Sure.
So I was glad for that, but for you, I wouldn't even care, because I would just make crazy stuff, and then they would say citations needed or delete it, and then I just make another one. I'd be like,
so in that spirit, then are you wanting things that I would put up that would be fake, or do you want to know real things that I would put up, or do you want both?
Yeah, both. You can do both.
Both? Okay, so what if I just like give you what if I gave you like 3, and then like 2 of them are real and 1 of them's fake?
Yeah, that's good. So that's good. Because I used to do this too. People would be like, all right, B, like, tell us something interesting about yourself. I'll be like, I'll tell you 3 things, and one of them's fake. You got to guess the fake one.
But is it more fun if I make the fake one like really obvious? Like, he hugged a polar bear. Like, I mean, I don't know when I'd have the opportunity to hug a polar bear, but if that opportunity ever does arise, and it's not in a danger situation where my life is at danger, because I'm pretty sure polar bears are violent.
Yeah, they're not friendly.
Yeah, they're not friendly. Because, I mean, you gotta give the polar bear some credit, man. He's just hanging out there in the snow all day.
That's right.
And if we want to get political for a minute, which I know we try to stay away from, everyone, the liberals and the Democrats are pushing for the idea of the polar ice caps melting. So it's like their home is disappearing, type of thing. They're getting all dirty. It's like, oh man, who got the polar bears all dirty? Like,
they are dirty. You never see them like they're not
getting
white.
dirty.
They're
not white anymore.
With the dirt on the tips. Yeah.
You know what? You want to know something crazy? I went to this is getting way off topic, but you know what? This happens on this show anyway, so the listeners deal with it for a minute here. I went to the San Diego Zoo, which, if you don't know anything about zoos in the United States, the San Diego Zoo is I think it's considered one of the top 10 zoos in the world.
Right.
Like, just its sheer massive size and collection of animals. And it was really cool, too, because we got to see the lion walk around and just start roaring. Like, he was just, like, out on a prowl.
Oh, was he roaring?
Like, all right, I'm going to start roaring now.
Great.
I hope everyone's happy. Like literally me, a very thin fence, here's a lion roaring. I'm like, I think this fence needs to be electric. I think this needs to have something else besides, like, this looks like it's made of tissue paper. I don't want, I'm scared. Anyway, the polar bear. They had a polar bear exhibit. I've seen polar bears before. They had one gigantic male polar bear. I swear this thing stood up. He was probably 12 and a half feet. I mean, this thing is freaking massive. He was the brownest bear I've ever seen in my... I'm like, this is not a polar bear. I'm like, this doesn't look like a polar... You looks like a chocolate bear. Like, this is not a polar bear.
They grabbed some brown bears and put him in the polar bear, and they painted him white, and after they went for a swim, the paint fell off. Is that
exactly.
it? Exactly.
That's probably
that
what it was.
A polar bear?
Actually, I thought it was just like an oversized teddygram or something. I don't know what happened, but he wasn't white. He was brown, and I was like, this doesn't make any sense.
Speaking of bears that I would hug panda bears because they're inebriated anyway. That's
true.
Look at them. They
want to hug.
They look like they want to hug, right?
They look like they want to hug.
That they would maul you.
They look like they want a hug and maybe a ride home because they didn't pick a DD before they went out. We talk about panda bears a lot. We don't talk about them on the show, but we should. I completely forgot where I was going with all of this. Where did we start?
There was let's see, the 3 facts, and like one of them was...
Oh, that's right.
By the way, there are times where I introduce myself and I say, hey, there's 3 facts about me, and one of them is a lie, and all 3 of them are actually lies. So I make up all 3 of them. That way, no matter which one they guess.
By that,
really?
I'm actually more impressed by that because I have a hard time coming up with something fake that isn't completely outlandish. Like I want something to sound like it's reasonable enough that it could have happened. It's still going to be ridiculous,
right?
But I want to make it sound like, hey, this actually happened, type of thing. I'm trying to. So now I'm stuck with. So I could just say I licked a 9-volt battery, but everyone...
All right, while you're thinking, I'll give you some of the ones that I've said about me in the past.
About yourself?
Yeah, about
or
me.
About me?
About me. Well, we should do the ones that I've said about you, but I haven't said anything. Well, I have said... Actually, if your brother Jonathan was here, he could flip to the back of his wedding album, where everybody signs the wedding album, and the very, very last page, like the actual... I think it's the cardboard... It's either the page or the cardboard part of the book. I had a list, and I said, Alyssa... who's his wife, I said, Jonathan's probably never told you, but here's some facts about him. And then I just listed all the way down and wrote all this garbage out there.
See, you're thinking about, you're like, we talk about creativity all the time. That's creative. I'm like in Jonathan's book, I'm just like, hey man, congrats. Have a good life. You're my brother. I love you. Whatever,
I'll see you on Xbox.
I'll see you on Xbox later. And you're in the back, like writing... You're writing out like little known facts, that can only be found on the History Channel at a later time. Anyway. All right. So you said you had 3 of yourself.
All right. So do you want me to, actually, I have several that I've said throughout the. So it's funny because I have used these 3, and only one is true. And people, so I've said this like.
So 2 of these are false, and one of them's true.
Yeah, 2 are false, and one is true. And I've said this. And people, if they listen to the show, you'll know.
I'll know. Okay.
I paint miniatures. I once punched a magician. No. This is what I say. I say I paint miniatures. I'm a pugilist, and I've resuscitated a jellyfish. And people guess you paint miniatures. Is that the one that's not real?
I've resuscitated a jellyfish.
That is.
That's probably one of the best fake ones I've ever heard.
That's when I posted, like, back when I actually did social media.
Man.
I was like, I've resuscitated a jellyfish. And I get all the questions I get are like, how? And I'm like, I'm just leaving it there. Figure it out.
Oh, man. That's crazy, though. I can't believe that people wouldn't immediately... I don't even know. See, now I'm thinking... Now I'm trying to go back to, like, biology and think, like, do jellyfish even, like, need air? Because I don't think they need air. In fact, I'm pretty sure air kills them.
That's right.
So,
once you take them out of the water, they deflate. They're like a 2-dimensional napkin or something.
Isn't there like air in water? Like aren't there small pockets of air? No, I don't know.
Water is H2O.
Yeah, there's
hydrogen
air.
to oxygen 1. Isn't that what that stands for?
Yeah, there's air in there.
So there's air in a. There's air in a jellyfish.
But I don't know.
Yeah, they got that like puffly thing at the top, like it's.
But I felt like that's just like regulating, like wow. I hope we don't have, not that anyone of this caliber. I know I was going to say, not that a scientist with the caliber of knowledge that he would have would be listening to this show.
I'm sure marine biologists are like, this is like, the worst show in the world.
Or some marine biologist is like, man, I was really into your all show until you guys started offending the jellyfish. All right? Little Squishy, I'm stealing that name from Finding Nemo, but I don't care. Little Squishy does not appreciate.
Is that the name? Is there a jellyfish in Little?
Yeah,
there's
in Finding Nemo. I guess this movie's been out for like 10 years.
Right. So spoiler alert.
This is not a spoiler. Okay. All right. If you don't know this
Little
already,
Squishy.
then there's a part of the episode like I'm talking about our show. There's a part of the movie where Dory runs into a baby jellyfish and she thinks it's adorable, so she calls it, I'm going to call you Squishy and you're going to be mine and you will be my Squishy and blah, blah, blah. And then she touches it and it obviously stings her, type of thing. So that's actually one of the really cool That's one of the really cool moments of that film, because they get stuck in a bunch of jellyfish, and it's those pink jellyfish that you see that are always like really close to each other in like the deep sea, and they pan out. And that's just one of those moments in that movie that I'm like, oh my God, animation has come so far, because it looks so real. It looks like it. I mean, aside from the characters that have kind of bigger eyes and personalities and mouths and everything, the jellyfish, I'm just like, oh my God, like it's so beautifully done. And that was like 8 years ago or something when that movie came out. And it's still to this day, I watched that scene and I'm like, this is the most beautiful scene of the whole movie.
Right.
I know that sounds weird because it's like a children's comedy movie or whatever, but I look at it, I'm like, that's beautiful. I wish I knew how to do
You're
something
right.
like that.
So a few years ago, we had Guardians of the Galaxy where we had Rocket Raccoon, and you're not watching it going, that's CGI.
Yeah.
The people who watch it are like, there's Rocket.
Yeah.
Impressive. So the most interesting Daniel in the world.
The most interesting Daniel. So I was supposed to give you 3. So I do have.
Is this so? You're going to give me 3, and I got to guess which 2 are right?
I'm going to give you 3, and 2 of them are right.
One of them the Alamo remembers you. Is that it?
No, but anybody from Texas probably appreciates that one. No, I dyed my rice in the shape of an American flag and took it to lunch one day.
Wait, say that again.
I dyed my rice, like I had rice for lunch, and I dyed it with the colors of the American flag and took it to lunch one day. I microwaved a peep just to see how large it could get. Dang it, I forgot the last one. Now you know which one's fake. Gosh,
I was going to say, neither of those are fake. No,
I had a good one, too, and I can't even remember what it was.
I didn't even need to.
I was going to say once I wrote into my congressman, because that's never happened. So, but
I know we have the right and the ability to do that here in the States, and yet
we do.
Do people do
I don't know.
it?
How often do people do that? I mean, anyway, that's going to a completely.
I actually did it a couple of times when I was a kid. If that tells you anything, but so I did it twice.
I wonder. Do you think they actually read it then? Do you think they just look at it and they're like, "Oh, it's so cute. A 5-year-old is writing." Not that you were 5, but you know what I mean.
Yeah,
like,
no, I was a teenager.
Some kid is writing into a. They don't. I can't imagine that they take that seriously. So if, I was going to say, if you're not from the States, I wanted to clarify. If you're not from the States, you can write to your congressman, and I'm pretty sure other countries do this, but I don't know enough about foreign government to understand, what it is that they do. But in the States, you can write a letter to your congressman. If there are changes or things that you would like to see implemented because of whatever reasons. I mean, if you see a need for a change in your city, you can write into your congressman, and it's a right that we have. Like the congressman or the secretary will have to read it, type of thing. And yet, how many people actually do that? I don't know. I imagine only really angry people, like they're writing in all caps. Like with a pen, like they're just scraping the paper so hard that it like punctures.
Now it's email, so it's all cap locks.
That's true, just caps lock, just like I'm yelling on the internet. So, but anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yeah, we get way off topic. We've gotten way off topic.
That's okay. They so I don't want to say they take them seriously, but sometimes there was a few years back, there was a high school wrote into, I think it was the Senate or the Congress, one of the two. I forget which one of the two houses.
Okay.
They wrote in about something like, or they showed up, right? Or like 11 of them showed up, and they're like, hey, we want to change the state bird of, I don't know. Do you remember this?
I know what you're talking about.
Do you remember the story?
I know what you're talking about.
I say you may know it. I don't remember the details, but I do remember that they're like, hey, we want to change the state bird of Montana to like the giraffe or whatever the heck it was. Not that the giraffe's a bird. Yeah. And so they're like they're kind of going through this, and one of the guys gets up there and says, I can't believe we're talking this nonsense. This is stupid.
No, because the whole point. I remember hearing this. It wasn't a giraffe. They wanted to change it to a particular type of falcon, which was like ridiculously powerful, strong falcon, who is like known for like ripping its like its prey apart, like it's some or not prey, I guess. Prey.
Right.
Ripping its prey apart. Well, the whole purpose of this is that they invited. It was an elementary school. It wasn't high school. It was an elementary school, and they wanted to invite them to the Senate to see how that process worked. They wanted them to learn.
Right. That's right.
And this was the sad part about it, though, if you don't know this story, is that the whole point of this is like they actually had a good idea. It wasn't like it was that bad, and all the people are encouraging and they're shaking the kids' hands. They're like, oh, it's so great that they're going to sit in and watch us, potentially pass this through.
Right.
And then they go to actually pass it, and they're like, all in favor. No one raises their hand. All oppose. Nay, every single one of them declined it in front of the kids.
Crazy.
Like the kids, so basically they learned the most important thing about the government. Nothing can be changed. It's going to all stay the same.
Right. Your voice is not heard.
Your voice is not heard. You're screwed. Even though they had a great idea. That was the whole point. They were so, and then afterwards they're like, yeah, we want to take a picture with the kids. The kids don't want to take a picture with you anymore.
And at that point,
you didn't even they just sat there and they're just like, oh my God, what? I don't understand. I'm 5.
I know.
Like, I guess, can we get an ice cream cone?
Yeah, that's
now?
at that point.
I don't. What else can you do?
There's
after
lollipops
that?
at the door. See you later.
Oh my gosh! They probably gave him a lollipop on their way out that had like a picture of like different presidents' faces.
Each of the
the
senators on it,
or the
senators'
senators' faces.
Exactly.
That's
this
probably
is Senator so and so and Senator. These are all the senators from your state or whatever the heck they came
exactly. Okay, we got way off topic though.
The most interesting Daniel.
The most interesting Daniel. I don't know. I guess.
You once messed with Texas?
Yeah, I once messed with Texas. No, I haven't messed with Texas. That is one thing I haven't done. I can't mess with Texas. I would feel like I would be violating my rights as a Texan, or not. Maybe not.
Why would you want to mess with Texas?
Why would you want to mess with Texas?
Exactly.
I kind of feel like Texas is the way that it
beautiful.
is. It's exactly. It's beautiful just the way that it is. Let's see some true facts.
Yeah, so let's get some true stuff on there. This is where you can brag.
He hates opening blinds.
What?
I'm not a fan of opening blinds. I know that may sound... I think it's because... How do I describe this? If I'm on the first floor, I want my blinds closed 100% of the time. If I'm on the second floor or above, I want my blinds open almost 100% of the time. And I don't like the tedious process. This sounds so bizarre, but I really do not like the tedious process of opening or closing blinds.
What you need are the blinds that I bought and had installed because they're beautiful. They're top down, bottom up. So I just go up, I grab the top, and they're cordless, and I just pull it down to whatever.
No. What I need is I need a button that I just click, and it's like,
they have that. They have remote.
I know they do.
Isn't that awesome?
I know they do. I need that in my life because the literal. I'm not even, and even that. I know it sounds insane, but even that would probably, be, for me, it's tedious. I know it only takes a second to touch a button, but for me, it's like I had to give conscious thought for a brief moment that my blinds were closed and I wanted them open. That sounds so bizarre, but that is I'm being 100% honest right now. I do not like opening blinds.
You need those homes of the future where you can, after you wake up in the morning, you walk in your living room and you say, like Siri, or the name of your home would be Stripple Nipple.
Stripple Nipple. That's a great home name.
It would be Charlotte. Open blinds. And then they have they're not blinds, but they're like kind of shade things that just kind of...
I know what you're talking about.
They rotate and the sun comes in.
Yeah.
Or the light comes in. Yeah, you need the home of the future.
It would be really cool. It'd be really cool if the home of the future for blinds, at least, would be able to have sensors that would notice two things. Either one, as you walk into a room. So I don't want to have to say anything. I just want to walk into the room and it to know. So A, it needs to know that I enter the room. B, it needs to do a quick assessment of me. Am I clothed or not? Yeah. Because that's the next thing is whether or not I'm going to, because it doesn't matter if it's sunny outside.
That's right.
I'm not going to open up my blinds.
Close.
And B, is there someone within a 100-yard radius of my home? It just sends out a sensor and it's just able to see people walking around. It's like, nope, no one's there, so it doesn't matter.
Always be the case because if you have neighbors, it'd be like ping.
Exactly, it would never even open up. It would just notice all the neighbors around. No, but so yes, it would say on my page, it would say he doesn't like to, his blinds open themselves.
Got it.
That would be incredible. He has high blood pressure. I have no idea. I can't think of anything.
Which apparently are tied to bananas and Cheerios.
Cheerios.
Which we had a whole nother.
We had a whole nother conversation prior to recording about bananas and Cheerios. No one will ever hear because we weren't recording. But I'm sorry. That's just a story for another
People
time.
right now are like, why are they laughing? That doesn't make any sense.
It's because it's funny. It's funny to me, at least. Yeah, I think that. Okay, that's all I'm going to give for right now. You give one. You got to have. You don't
have anything like super interesting. Like you're like, I've scaled Mount Everest or anything like.
Well, I wish I could say that I've scaled
my swimming time. My best swimming time is 6.3 seconds for the 900 meter.
But see, that's the thing, I guess, that makes the most interesting man in the world unique. And I know why you brought it up, I guess, because he's retiring.
Right.
Or they're retiring the campaign,
yeah, they're retiring
if you
him,
will.
So to speak.
Yeah,
letting him go.
So, letting him go, which I know he's getting older, but still, like, if I were them, I would have just stopped making the commercials. Why announce that you're doing that? I don't feel like that brings any more attention. Yeah. Like, you should have just stopped making them. And then people 5 years from now would be like, man, do you remember when they used to have those commercials? Those were so great. Let's go get a Dos Equis. Now they're going to be like, dude, he went up to Mars. Like, the Dos Equis went with him. Yeah. I'm going to have to drink Bud Light now.
Heineken tried to do something like that a few years ago. They would try to do these. They weren't the most interesting man commercials, but they had long ones, which were probably about 30 to 45 seconds. And then they would cut them down for TV size so that they had like 8-second ones, and I think they had 15-second ones. And they would focus on one guy who kind of shows up at a party, and he's the life of the party, but he's the life of the party because he's got like he steals the ball from the basketball players and throws it over his shoulder and makes like a 900-foot shot, or he grabs the flute and suddenly starts dancing the marimba, or what he fences the guy out, karates the guy, and it just never had. They were clever, but they just never. It's like, we get it. That's this guy over here, the most interesting man.
Yeah, you've kind of taken that away. Like you're trying to steal the same thunder, if you will. But I still feel like they made a huge mistake by like essentially saying that he's leaving Earth and they're retiring it and stuff like that. And if you guys don't know what we're talking about, you're missing out. Like either that or you just been like listening to the podcast. If you've gotten this far and you don't know what we're talking about, what are you doing with your life? Like, how do you listen to this? And we
hope that they really we do this to hope that people get laugh. We're just trying to bring joy to the world.
Sure, no, and plus we enjoy it anyway. I mean, we used to talk about some of these crazy things, and I think it was not. I think I know it was your idea. You're like, why aren't we recording this? Like, people should hear this, and I'm like, Brennan, no one wants to hear us talk. Who wants to hear us talk about this? But anyway,
some of the conversations were hilarious. Like my neighbors would be like, "This guy at 2 a.m. in the morning is laughing his head off."
Yeah, I don't. Your neighbors have a lot of grace, and I'm surprised you haven't like in the middle of a conversation just heard like an axe go through your door or something. Just like someone trying to bust in. Like what the heck? It's 2 a.m. in the morning.
We don't record that late.
I have a 5-year-old who wants to know why our neighbor is hysterical. Can you please explain that?
Because that was when we first started doing the telephone calls. Right across the hall from me, when I lived in the apartment, was a beautiful young couple, and then they had they have a baby, and so,
you would wake them up.
And here I am laughing at like 1 a.m.
You know what? That's okay. The baby was probably getting up around that time anyway, so. It's like maybe they got some entertainment out of like trying to guess what it was that you were laughing at.
Exactly.
They're like, man, this guy must watch Comedy Central like 24/7, and he just says
but the thing was, they knew I didn't have a TV. They'd be like, no, I don't own a TV, and they're like, well, what is he laughing? Maybe they thought it was a maniac or something.
Probably. All right. He's like
so
working on world domination. That's what? No, actually that's one on your. That's got to be one
working on world domination.
Working on world domination, hysterical at night, meat and potatoes. I have no idea. Okay, this is kind of changing it just a little bit, but one of the things that campaign was famous for was the fact that it was giving the idea and the essence of being interesting, and if you drink Dos Equis, you're going to be like this.
Right.
So essentially, it was all surrounded around a drink. Again, fantastic campaign. I feel like it did exactly what it needed to do. It probably sold millions of I almost said Heinekens. Probably sold millions of Dos Equis because of it. So if you were to say that the most interesting man in the world, if he was a beverage, you would say that he's a Dos Equis.
Right.
So in contrast, Brendan, if you were a beverage, what do you think your beverage would be? If you were a beverage, what?
So am I giving a brand name? Or
No. It doesn't have to be a brand name. It could be a type of beverage.
Perfect. I would be, quote, the B, quote. That would be my beverage, right? So here's the deal. So I occasionally bartend. And there was a convention in Crystal City last year, and I'm going to do it again this year, where I bartended for 4 straight days, circa 12 to 10-hour shifts each day.
That's insane.
As it was, but you know what?
Who's drinking at that time?
These were gamers.
They drink all day long, don't they?
They're quote unquote, that's their vacation. And if you think about it, if anybody's on vacation, that's kind of what they're doing. I'm speaking in generality.
You do
right?
drink, yeah. You do drink.
They're going to go, hey, like vacation. I don't have. I'm
not in the office right now. I can drink right now. Like bring me my alcohol.
That's exactly right. And so a few stories about that. So think about it. You're at the hotel. The convention that you're attending, where you're playing your games and doing and taking your seminars and stuff, is in the very same hotel. Mm-hmm. All you need to do is play games, crash, and wake up the next morning and play more games. You don't have a responsibility anymore. Yeah, of course you're going to drink and whatever. So there were a couple times where people would come up the bar. We were in the hospitality lounge. We were on the 18th floor of this hotel. The convention was on the second floor, the basement and sub-basement. And they weren't really sub-basement. I mean, it was a massive kind of, I don't want to say hole, but like this foyer thing where the ground floor, there was an opening and you could see down into the basement and sub-basement, right? So like this big giant where the elevators went up and down. So we're up on the 18th floor where the bar is, the lounge. And there were a couple people who would come up there and they would go, hey, if I tip you like $5, would you run a beer down to me every half hour? And we'd be like, sure, we'd be glad to, but I don't know where you're sitting. And he's like, I'm in such and such a room. I'm wearing this. You can see what I'm wearing. Just look for me. I'll be at one of the tables. Just every half hour, just keep a beer coming. I'll give you $5 every time you come down. And so I remember turning to one of the ladies. I'm like, well, you want to do it? She goes, I'll take care. I said, all right, cool. So that's how, they were just, right. And it was great because the hotel allowed us. They said, hey, look, we're not undercutting you. We're going to, so what would my drink? So anyway, I say this because people would come up and they'd be like, and I'd say, what do you want? And some people had never had a drink before. And so I'd be like, what do you like? And they're like, well, I like sweet, or I like sour, or I'm like, you like soda? Do you want?
These are not necessarily social people either. They're gamers.
Yes, exactly. So it's not like
it's not like they're hanging out at bars
right,
every Saturday night.
These are some of these people.
They don't know.
I got to defend them because some of them I was impressed with. I'm like, man, you actually know how to have a conversation that doesn't involve fragging somebody or whatever.
Exactly.
And they had other interests, but some of the people, yes, a majority of them were gamers, and so they'd be like. Yeah, exactly. They're like, they don't know anything about liquor other than pop the beer top and give it to me.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I'd be like, so they would come up and they'd be like, what can you make me? And the drinks that were kind of quote unquote the most exciting were the ones they'd never heard of, or I would make something and they'd bring it out into the lounge and it would be like Blaster Pistol Green. Right. And so that drink stands out amongst everybody. They're like, dude, how do you get like Necromancer blood red on that thing or whatever? And I'm like, come on, man. You want something? They're like, hey, that thing that you just gave that girl, it's green on the top and orange on the bottom. What is that? And they want to know that. So mine would be the B, and it would be like yellow, black layered. It'd be yellow and black layered, like the stripes on a
That's
B.
Awesome.
And I would give it to you.
That's awesome.
And I'd have to find a way. I'd have to get like a black liquor and a yellow liquor. The yellow liquor would be fairly easy because I could probably just use a quote unquote kind of a juice or syrup and layer them, but it would be tough to keep them afloat upon each other. But that would be my signature drink. It would be the B.
Okay.
Or it would have a sting to it.
Oh, okay. All right. Fair enough. I like that it's named after you too. Like it's even got the right name and everything.
That's right. So. It's name. You said my drink. That's me.
It's funny because I asked that question and then like most of the time you were telling that story. Not that I wasn't paying attention because I was, but I was thinking like if he flips around and asks me the question, I haven't come up with an answer for myself, so I had to think about it myself too, and think about like what mine would be. And what I came up with is I said in my head, I'm like, I think I'm a cream soda. That's the best thing I can come up with. I'm fizzy. I have caffeine in me. And although sometimes I might appear darker in color, I'm still white on the inside. So that's probably the best I could come up with. So, but anyway, we probably went way far away, but this was still a good conversation. Great question, by the way. Sorry we kind of derailed it and went in different directions.
That's all right.
At one point we were talking about congressmen. Why were we doing that?
I'm gonna have a fun time trying to come up with a blurb that describes this episode and be like, okay.
I was gonna call it the most interesting podcast in the world, but that's a pretty long title, and I kind of feel like maybe people have already used that before.
That's a good one.
So, but anyway.
All right. Do you have any last words? I don't. That's it. I'm done. I do want to say that. Do
you have any last? I'm done. I quit.
Any last words before we execute you? Get it over with. Cut my head off now. Can I pull this lever?
I feel like if I was being executed, this sounds terrible, but if I was being executed, put me in medieval times, all right? I don't want to get into anything political.
Is it guillotine? You're doing guillotine?
I'm on the guillotine, all right? And they asked me, they say, do you have any final words? I feel like it would be just so funny if you just said something that they don't expect, like supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, just like out of the blue, just like it's not what they expected. Do you have any final words? Like not I'm sorry for everything I did, or do you have any last words like I hate you guys or something?
You just kind of like turn your head to the executioner and be like, I got the scratch on my nose. Can you get that for me?
Like, what are they like? They're like, any final words? I let the cow out of the pasture this morning. just something. Just
honey, I don't think I locked the house.
You're gonna.
All right, enough.
Do you have any final words? I never did like goulash. I can't. I'm sorry. Go ahead. You had final words.
So we appreciate you listening to the show with no name. Once again, I'm Brendan, aka B, and he is Daniel, aka Daniel. You can find us on iTunes, where you're probably listening right now. And if you are, we would greatly appreciate it if you left a review, told us how much we rocked. Leaving a review helps our ratings, helps other people find the show better. You can also find us on YouTube. You would search for, quote unquote, the channel, The Show with No Name, because apparently there is a YouTuber named The Show with No Name, but we are the channel The Show with No Name, where you can find all of our episodes as well. And in addition to the YouTube channel, on the YouTube channel, Daniel creates these beautiful intros for the...
I don't know about beautiful.
They're clever. They're funny. The funny intros to match the recorded audio that we have for the show, which are our intros that you hear every episode. So thank you again for listening.